about climate change. What did you expect?
I don't know. I guess I didn't realize that things could get so dangerous so fast.
Yeah, I always hear the climate change is bad, but now it feels real.
Well, why not, instead of talking about how doomed we are, we actually did something to fix it?
Man, we gotta get started.
Yeah, but how?
Here's something.
Hello, my name is Karen Dante, and I'm a Climate Change Fellow with the USDA Forest Service. I want to welcome each and every one of you across the country to this webcast of Climate Change Live. The Climate Change Live distance learning program is brought to you by 25 partners to provide you with information about climate change, what it is, and what we're seeing now. We'll discuss what the potential impacts might be, what the potential solutions are, and what you can do to help. In our first webcast last week, we presented an incredible overview of climate science. If you didn't see that webcast, it's available on the website at climatechangelive.org, so check it out there later. Today, you're going to be joining in with us on a climate change conversation. We've gathered students and climate experts to talk about climate change and what we can do to help. We're going to learn more about climate change and hear from students who've been involved in climate change and learn about what they've been doing to be part of the climate solution. The title of this program is Join the Conversation, so we're looking forward to getting lots of questions and comments from students in our studio and from the webcast audience. We're joined today by Dr. Catherine Hayhoe, who is a rock star in climate science and in communicating about climate change. She's an atmospheric scientist and director of the Climate Science Center at Texas Tech University. Thanks so much for being with us today. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and why you think it's so important for everyone to learn about climate change?
Thanks for having me here today. We're all familiar with how medical doctors collect data and run tests and build models to understand the human body. In the same way, we climate scientists collect data and run tests and build models to understand the health of our planet. Specifically these days, we care a lot about climate change and about how that's affecting us today in the places where we live.
Well, it's wonderful to have you with us, Dr. Hayhoe. Thanks for helping us understand about climate change and what we can do to help. And I'm joined again by our student host, Robert.
Hi, everyone. I'm a student at Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology in Fairfax County, Virginia, and I'm president of the TJ Environmental Impact Club. You may remember one of our other hosts from our first webcast. Sai Maramangalam is a presenter for the Alliance for Climate Education, otherwise known as ACE. Sai has been teaching students about climate change and working with students throughout the Washington, D.C. area on projects to address climate change.
Hi everyone, I am so excited to be here to join this conversation on climate change, and I'm very happy to be here with my good friend and climate all-star, Ms. Troy Newman.
Hi, I'm a student at Gwynn Park High School in Prince George's County, Maryland, and I'm the president of our Ecology Club. Climate change is one of the most important issues of our time, and is going to have far-reaching impacts into the future, into our future.
So we're going to be learning more about climate change and what students are doing to be a part of the climate solution. You might be surprised how much of a difference we can make.
You can send in questions or comments by email, Twitter, or Facebook. You can do that by going to our website at climatechangelive.org and clicking on the Facebook or Twitter buttons, or send an email right from the page and directly to fieldtrips@pwnet.org. We want to know whether you've seen any climate change impacts in your area. Join in the conversation that you see on the screen, and we'll be sharing some of your posts on this webcast.
We have some climate scientists who will be answering your climate change questions on Twitter and Facebook. Here's your chance to join in on the climate conversation and have your questions answered by climate experts.
To get us started, I'd like to take a question from one of the students in our studio audience today. Sai?
Yeah, we have a question from Ashley Nguyen in Chantilly High School. Ashley?
Hi, my question is, how do we know the Earth is warming?
One of the main ways we track climate change is through temperature, measured by thermometers. But we don't just have to depend on thermometers and satellite instruments and other scientific observations to know that our climate is changing. A lot of the information is right there in our own backyards. We can look at plants and trees, bugs, sea level, oceans, rivers, mountain glaciers. All of these things are telling us that the Earth is warming. There's more than 26,500 different indicators of a warming planet all around us.
To continue on the question of how we know the Earth is warming, we're joined on Skype by Spruce Scherneman, who's going to tell us about his work in Antarctica and how ice gives us information about climate change. Spruce, tell us about your work with ice cores.
Hi, well, yes, I'm a graduate student at the University of Washington in the Earth and Space Sciences Department, and I worked as a science technician and an ice core handler with research scientists on the West Antarctic Ice Sheet Divide Ice Core project. And I'm studying water isotopes in the ice cores, which tell paleoclimate scientists how temperatures have changed in the past. Paleoclimate refers to the study of past climate. And in addition, I compare the ancient changes with the greenhouse gases, like carbon dioxide and methane, to understand how the planet transitioned from the last glacial period to the present day. In Antarctica, when the snow falls, the ratio of heavy to light water isotopes is set by the temperature during precipitation. Isotopes are very small variations in the chemical composition of an element, but they can be measured. In the case of water, we measure the isotopes of oxygen, O16 and O18. We can then infer what the past temperatures have been over thousands of years. As the snow compacts to ice, it also traps pockets of atmospheric air. And we can measure these air bubbles preserved in the ice, which contain samples of the ancient atmosphere, including carbon dioxide and methane. Using the trapped air, we've been able to extend the record of carbon dioxide back to 800,000 years ago. The ice shows that the current rise in carbon dioxide actually began about 200 years ago during the start of the Industrial Revolution, when we began burning coal instead of wood. As the planet warms from the additional greenhouse gases we are emitting, we are seeing increased temperatures recorded by the isotopes, which also match the current instrumental temperatures. Together with the water isotopes, we see that the Earth has gone through long-term cycles in temperature and CO2 between colder glacial periods and warmer interglacial periods. The temperature changes are closely followed by changes in CO2, which further amplify the temperature changes, creating a positive feedback cycle.
How did the present changes compare to previous changes in the Earth's history?
Well, in the case of the last deglaciation, which is the melting of the ice sheets, it took roughly 10,000 years for the planet to warm, as the Earth's orbit provided small increases of incoming radiation from the sun. As the oceans warmed and the carbon cycle became more active, more carbon dioxide was released into the air, increasing the greenhouse effect, increasing temperatures, and so forth, until reaching this current stable interglacial period. In less than 100 years, we have added an equal amount of carbon dioxide from carbon locked in the Earth's crust than had been released from the land and oceans over the entire 10,000 years of the deglaciation. In addition, during the last 10,000 years, the Earth's orbit has caused us to slowly receive less incoming radiation. So we should have been headed toward another cold period, but instead the Earth has been warming.
Thank you, Spruce. Ice cores have been a key to understanding what's been happening with the climate over time. Ice core research is one way we know that the burning of fossil fuels has increased carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and the rise in Earth's temperatures corresponds to the additional greenhouse gases. Thanks for telling us about the work you do. Okay, let's find out what's happening with our Twitter and Facebook friends. Here are tweets from 2 East Coast students who have noticed possible impacts from climate change. A student from Manchester Essex Regional School District in Massachusetts tweeted, In our coastal community, we have noticed rising sea levels and an increase in severity of storms. Another student from Forsyth Country Day School in North Carolina tweeted, "Our environment features many climate changes. Recently, we had a 65-degree night, then the next morning it snowed. Thanks for your tweets." We'll check in with our Twitter and Facebook friends again during the program, so keep your comments and questions coming.
It can be hard to observe the changes in climate, especially when those changes are small. But over time, these small changes add up.
Here's a video with Kelsey in Oregon, who's going to tell us about the changes she has noticed.
Instead of seeing our regular snowfall that releases it in slow amounts and helps sustain us throughout the summer, we're seeing a lot more floods during the winter seasons, and then we don't have enough snowpack to give us our summertime water runoff. Trees are essential to our life because they store carbon and they emit oxygen for us to breathe.
Climate change is affecting Oregon because we're seeing droughts, we are seeing warmer temperatures, and also we're seeing more fires. This is an example of a forest that was lost to fire. It's not some myth, it's not far away, it's in our own backyards, literally.
Let's talk about this a little bit. We've got meteorologist Paul Gross on Skype with us from Detroit, Michigan. He's a forecaster for the television station WDIV. Thanks for joining us today, Paul. So, is climate change causing more extreme weather?
Yeah, it is, because what's happening is as the planet gets warmer, we evaporate more ocean water into the atmosphere, and that increases the humidity around the planet. Now, that moisture in the atmosphere, it's water vapor, that is what storms use to create rain or snow. And so we basically have a greater pool of moisture for storms to tap into, and we are seeing an increase in some of those extremes. And I'm seeing here, right here in our area here in Detroit, some definite impacts from climate change. So, for example, some of those are very subtle, and some of those are very dramatic. Let me give you an example first of a subtle one. Now, I moved into my house 22 years ago, actually, and there's a bed of flowers in front of my house called perennials, meaning they come up every year. They're called black-eyed Susans. Now, when I moved into my house, those black-eyed Susans, they bloomed usually by about maybe August 10th or so, and I'd have the last of the flowers lasting into the first week in September. But because of the warming, the steady warming that we've seen here, my black-eyed Susans are now actually blooming a couple of weeks earlier. They're now blooming in mid to late July, and those flowers are gone by the end of August. So I'm actually seeing kind of a transition in a species due to the changing climate. Now, some of the impacts are much more dramatic. So let's talk about something counterintuitive, something you wouldn't even think about. Let's talk about snow. Now, I don't know what you think about what's going to happen with a warming climate with snow, but here in the Detroit area, believe it or not, that extra moisture being tapped into by the storms is actually creating more snow for us in those winters where the storm track is nearby. Isn't that something? Well, how about this? 4 of our all-time top 10 snowiest winters on record, this is the entire winter, have occurred in the past 10 years. So in those years where that storm track is nearby, like this current winter, we are seeing an increase in our snow. So one thing people are asking me about is this enormously cold winter that we've had, and is that related in any way? Well, let me explain something. Climate change, the warming climate, does not mean that we are not going to get extreme cold like this. What it means is that there's going to be a lot less of it, and there's going to be an increase in the heat extremes. And we've seen a lot of record heat recently. We just haven't seen a whole lot of record cold like this. And in fact, you young people, you don't even remember a winter like this because you haven't even been alive long enough to experience the last time that we've had a winter like this. So that's some of the impacts that we're seeing, stuff that's tangible, stuff that you can see and feel and understand, a direct impact from climate change. So I only want to mention one more thing, and that's that I'm a member of the American Meteorological Society, And one of our core missions in the AMS is to improve the scientific literacy of Americans. We want people to be engaged and understand science more. And so TV meteorologists are taking that charge. And what we are trying to do is do more than just the weather. We're trying to do things like this and try to educate people more about other sciences and things. So the American Meteorological Society, EarthGauge, and the National Environmental Education Foundation have all kind of teamed up and formed a partnership that is really helping to make it easier for us TV meteorologists to help do more than just the weather and to talk about some of those other sciences. It's really a great project, and it goes way beyond just what we can show you on TV. So if you want to see some of this stuff yourself, you can actually see some of these things that we work on. Just go to earthgauge.net and you can take a look at that, and you can learn more about things than you ever thought possible. So that's a little bit about the impact of climate change. I hope you guys have a great rest of the event.
Great, thanks, Paul. Thanks for tuning us into the difference between climate and weather. And it's also interesting that you're mentioning the little changes you've noticed, like the blooming time of flowers, as well as extreme weather events. If you'd like to make observations about plants, you can get involved with Project Budburst, in which citizen scientists submit their data about the leafing, flowering, and fruiting of plants. Project Budburst began in 2007 in response to requests from people who wanted to make a meaningful contribution to understanding changes in our environment. Thanks, Paul, for Skyping with us. Climate.gov from NOAA is another great resource for information about climate change. The dashboard has data beginning in 1880 and shows projections to 2020. And you should check out the 10 Signs for a Warming World. It's an interactive website that provides information and data related to 10 key climate indicators. There's lots of great information there. So we've talked about how we know climate change is occurring and what impacts have occurred. But Dr. Hayhoe, why should we care?
Well, on cold, icy, snowy winter days, it's easy to say, well, I'd like a little global warming now. And for those of us who come from up north, you might say, well, isn't global warming a good thing? But the truth is that we are perfectly adapted to the climate we have. And as our climate changes, that means it's going to impact all aspects of our life, things that we actually really care about. For example, anyone like to go to the beach? Sea level rise is eating away at our beaches. Anybody enjoy the outdoors? Our native plant and animal species are shifting, and we have new invasives moving into the area like kudzu, that green vine that grows all over everything. Kudzu was first introduced in the south, and it's actually gotten all the way up to Canada now because our winters are no longer as cold as they used to be. If you like to drive places, well, we're seeing more heavy rainfall events that disrupt traffic and even damage our roads and our bridges. We all like to eat. Climate change affects where we can grow our food and how much it costs. We all like extra pocket money. Weather disasters cost a ton of money, in the billions of dollars, and they're increasing.
So climate change is really a story about us, our lives, and our children's lives.
Yeah.
Thanks.
In just a minute, we'll be learning about what some students are doing to address climate change. Let us know on Twitter and Facebook or by email about what you're already doing about climate change, or what you might be inspired to start doing as you watch this webcast. But first, let's check back with Dr. Hayhoe to answer another question from our studio audience. Sai?
Thanks, Robert. We have a question from Daisha Lee, who goes to Gwynn Park High School. Daisha?
What is causing climate change?
That's a really important question. Climate has changed in the past, so why is today any different? Well, we know that in the past, climate has changed for a couple of different reasons. There's natural cycles like El Nino that make some parts of the world warmer and other parts cooler, but all they do is just move heat around the planet. They don't change the whole temperature of the entire planet. We also know that in the past, we've gotten more or less energy from the sun. When we get more energy, we get warmer. When we get less, we get cooler. But now, since the 1970s, we've actually been getting less energy from the sun, not more. We also know that there's these big natural cycles in the Earth's orbit that cause our Earth ages and our warm interglacial period like we're in right now. But as you heard from Spruce, the next thing we're expecting from those cycles is actually another ice age. So that can't be what's causing our warming either. The reason why we're warming today is for a different reason than we've ever seen. It's because humans are digging up massive amounts of coal and gas and oil out of the ground and burning it. When we burn this stuff, it produces carbon dioxide, which is a very important heat-trapping gas. Now, most of us depend on this whenever we turn on a switch or charge our phone or get in the car. Coal and gas and oil are really important parts of our lives. But the problem is, as we use more and more of them, this carbon dioxide builds up in the atmosphere, and it's like we're wrapping an extra blanket around the planet, a blanket that the planet doesn't need.
It may seem like the problem of climate change is just too big to address, but let's watch a video about one school where students are really getting involved to make some positive changes.
We declare you graduated as Green Ambassadors.
The thing about the Green Ambassadors, which is so powerful to me and I love it, is because we get to do the solutions. It's not the teacher doing it. It's actually youth empowering youth because we're in charge of it.
In our Green Ambassadors class, we work on projects that can help our school first, and then we can go out in the community to teach others about it. And of course, that all goes back to our ecological footprint and climate change.
Here in the United States, we're trying to change it, and many countries don't see that. They just think that we're bad, we're the big monster that wants to destroy the planet. Most of our energy comes from fossil fuels like oil, natural gas, and coal. Once you burn them, they emit CO2, and the greenhouse gases are like laying a blanket on our planet, and it's heating it up.
Our school is going through a green transformation.
Our school, we had a lunch system that would create so much waste. So last semester, we worked on a project called Clean Plate Club.
These are our waste stations. We have compost, fruits, vegetables, eggshells. We have recycle, so plastic bottles only numbers 1 and 2. And we have landfill. And we want to raise awareness, and we also want people to see what can go in the landfill. Right here is our method of compost. We're using an old bathtub to put our organic matter from the waste bins. Worms are breaking it down to compost. We're gonna get good, healthy soil for our plants, our fruit trees. We planted 60 different fruit trees with over 30 varieties. Trees get the carbon dioxide out of the air, so planting more trees can reduce your carbon footprint. The coolest thing for me was that we actually got to plant the trees, so we can go back 20 years later and say, hey, I planted that avocado tree, I planted that kiwi tree. And we also went into the community, door to door, asking people, do you want a kiwi tree, do you want an avocado tree? We planted 40 different trees in the community. To me, that's the most important thing, to educate people, because they don't know. I don't like when we judge other people instead of teaching them.
One way that our school has taken our learnings and teachings out to the rest of the community, to the rest of the city. We teach little kids about what they can do and take back to their homes, to their schools, to make their school environmentally friendly. They're trying to reduce plastic, getting canteens, and so that they don't have to be buying plastic bottles.
We're at the Environmental Youth Conference, and I'm dressed as a plastic bag monster. Everyone is walking up to me, taking pictures and laughing. But this is a serious problem. Climate change, it's hitting us. I mean, we need solar panels, we need wind energy. We don't need to be going offshore drilling for oil. There are the solutions, but we need to use them. You'd really be surprised what one Earth Positive solution can do to a community. We're doing all of this for the 7th generation, for my sister's kids and her kids.
We can do the simplest things to make this world a better place.
I can learn how to care about the earth. You can too.
You can make a difference.
Wow, those students have really gotten involved in greening their school. From recycling to composting waste in the cafeteria to educating others in their community. Will any of this make a difference, Dr. Hayhoe?
With such a huge problem like climate change, we often feel discouraged, like there's nothing that we can actually do. But the truth is that small actions do add up. For example, if every house in the United States replaced just one of its most commonly used light bulbs with a compact fluorescent, or even better, one of those new LEDs, that would be equivalent to taking almost 1 million cars off the road. If we would just turn off our computers at night when we're not using them, that would give us enough electricity to power a few small states. There are a lot of things we can do. Small actions add up and can have a real impact on the planet. And it's not just about helping the planet. Most of these things will actually save us money too.
When we make changes in our schools, homes, and communities, it can really have a positive impact on lessening our carbon footprint. Okay, let's get another comment from one of our webcast audience and find out what they're doing to make a difference. Here are tweets from our partner ACE. A Santa Monica high school in California has converted a VW Bug to electric power. Very cool. And students in Washoe County, Nevada launched a campaign to reduce engine idling by 50%. These are great projects. Thanks for your work and imagination.
Now, another thing that these green ambassadors were getting involved with is composting food in their cafeterias. Now, here's some food for thought.
Every year, humans waste over 1.3 billion tons of food. Some estimates put that number as high as 2 billion tons. That means that between 30 and 50% of all food grown on the planet never gets consumed. So, for every one piece of food that someone eats, another piece gets thrown away. But what happens to that wasted food? Well, in the United States, 97% of it goes to a landfill, along with a bunch of other trash. Once it's in the landfill, it just sits there. To accommodate all of this waste, there are about 3,000 active landfills and 10,000 inactive landfills in the United States alone, the largest of which measures 700 acres. If all landfills were that size, the United States would contain 9.1 million acres of landfills, which is enough to fill up Massachusetts twice. Going back to the food waste in landfills, it does eventually break down. However, because it's without oxygen, the food releases methane, a greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gases in the atmosphere trap heat from the sun in what is known as the greenhouse effect. This is a widely accepted cause of global warming. If all 1.3 billion tons of food waste were put in a landfill instead of being allowed to naturally decompose, the amount of greenhouse gases released would be enough to fill up almost 40 trillion 12-inch balloons. If you lined up all 40 trillion of those balloons end to end, they would stretch from the Earth to the Sun 81 times. In 2009, landfills were responsible for 17% of all methane emissions in the United States. In other words, while the food waste is able to decompose in landfills, it's pretty bad for the environment. Now let's talk about the other 3% of food waste that doesn't end up in a landfill. Where does that go? It gets composted. Composting is a process in which nutrients are returned to the soil through decomposition of organic matter. Basically, food, yard waste, and other biodegradable material is mixed with soil in a compost pile. Then, existing microorganisms and bacteria break down the food into its basic organic molecules, which can be used as nutrients for plants. This process is called decomposition, and basically it recycles nutrients. The final product of this process is called compost and is used as a nutrient-rich soil for growing plants or crops. In fact, no additional fertilizer is needed because all of the essential minerals are already there, which makes it cost-effective too. No need to buy fertilizer anymore. And the best part is there's no methane produced, which means it's good for plants and the planet. If all of the food waste in the world was composted instead of being put in a landfill, the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that would be prevented would be the equivalent of taking over 2 billion cars off the road for 1 year. We are already making progress. Recycling and composting prevented 85.1 million tons of material from being disposed of in landfills in 2010, which also prevented approximately 186 million metric tons of carbon dioxide from being released into the air. And composting isn't the only way to eliminate food waste in landfills. You can also try to save food instead of throwing it out. An average family of 4 currently tosses out about $950 per year just in meats, fruits, vegetables, and grains. This is your chance to save some money, and the planet. There are over 2,000 commercial composting facilities in the United States right now, where you can arrange to drop off food waste, or you can compost yourself. What are you waiting for? Start composting today. Your garden and your planet will thank you.
Just think, if all schools everywhere started composting, that simple action will help make a big difference. Most people have no idea how such a simple action can make such a positive difference. And of course, composting at home has a lot of benefits.
This is all great, but sometimes with the big issues like climate change, it seems like we just need a superhero to help us out. Check this out.
time to make your no conflict in our interests. What movie do you want to go see? Or do you think the park will give you advice?
Mom, wait.
So the next time, Ben, why you leave? I was on a bike this morning and it was very slow. I live like 10 miles from school.
Why do you bike to school if you live 10 miles away?
Save fuel, of course. What am I gonna spend like 40 grand on a Prius?
Alright, just don't let it happen again.
Sorry, sir.
Continuing.
Nice shot.
This is a question or not?
Not again. I'm not really sure.
Stay green! And stay in school! I don't really get why he has to wear the green suit. Like, I understand going around fighting energy crime, but the green suit's kind of weird, you know?
I mean, I guess he's just trying to do something good. I mean, I wish more people would do something like that and recycle.
That is an interesting guy, I guess you would say, and we technically are related, but I don't like to tell people that.
I think a lot of people just don't really understand the Green Man and his essence and his being. I think he's a force for good and he's trying to do a great thing. I think more people could respect him.
I'm green. What color are you?
I want to thank our hero, Adam Alpert, who is now a student at Brown University, for that video. It seems like the Green Hero's biggest challenge was convincing other people to care about this issue.
Dr. Hayhoe, you specialize in communicating about climate change. Do you have any suggestions about how to talk to people? I know this is the hardest problem at my school.
We all have a lot of things that we worry about. We worry about our grades, our family, our friends, and our future. And so often, when we learn about climate change, we think, oh, well, it's just one more thing to add to the list of everything we care about, usually, to be honest, at the bottom. What we have to realize is that isn't true. The reason why we care about climate change is because it affects the things we already care about. Climate change affects us and our families, it affects the places that we love, and it definitely affects our future. That's why we care.
Whenever you talk to people about climate change, I think it's important to include both facts and heart. Many people are misinformed about climate change, so it often helps to show them the numbers and graphs to convince them of its severity. But it's also important to tell them about your personal connection with the issue and why it's so important to you.
Students can make a difference in so many ways, and recycling is one way to get started on a green journey. My school, Gwynn Park High School in Brandywine, Maryland, has done lots of projects, but Gwynn Park earned an award for its recycling program. Here's a video.
Like right there, there's one.
Like a worm? I don't want to touch it with my hands.
Wash your hands back in my room.
I don't want to touch it with my hands. The College Club here at Gwynn Park does a lot to help our community and our environment. We have gardens in our greenhouse, and we donate the vegetables that we grow for the culinary arts program at our school.
We're going over there and watering the different plants and trees that we planted.
We're doing this to beautify our school, to help our environment. We planted trees and flowers just to make the school look better than it was.
We also have a recycling program, what helps get the students really involved with recycling and help them take what they learn in school to bring it home.
In the morning, we collect the bins and the recyclables. Then at the end of the week, we wash them, we sort them, and then we weigh them for the competition.
Last year, the Ecology Club took part in a Howard Sustainability Case Project, of which school in the Washington, D.C. area was most sustainable. Gwynn Park won, and we won first place of $6,000, which went to scholarship money to our school. Also, last year, Gwynn Park received Green School status. It's a state recognition. You get a green ribbon, which shows that your school is implementing green or sustainable projects within the school. This year, the Ecology Club were invited to Power Shift from ACE, which is the Alliance for Climate Education. We were a group of high school students that were invited, and the main problem at Power Shift this year was fracking. So we learned about fracking, and we attended workshops, and we took it back, and we want to implement some of those problems that we learned at Power Shift back to our community here.
I enjoy doing this because it's just something that helps beautify our school, helps beautify our environment, makes our environment better, helps the trees grow and the vegetables grow so that we can give it to the homeless shelters and give it to the teachers and other people at the school. So this is something I enjoy doing.
Now, you might not think that there's anything you can do to help solve climate change, and that's wrong.
This is the average number of plastic bottles a U.S. family of 4 uses in 1 week. Depending on who you ask, between 22 to 29 billion plastic bottles are used every year. Have a look at this picture. In the United States, we consume about 60% of the world's water bottles, and even though we're only about 4.5% of the world's population, there are 1,500 water bottles consumed every second in the United States. It takes 3 times the volume of water to manufacture 1 bottle of water than it does to fill it. And think about all of the fuel it takes to deliver all this water and soda to us. This image you are seeing shows 2 million plastic bottles, the number used in the U.S. every 5 minutes.
Only 1 in 6 bottles get recycled. Recycling 1 plastic bottle can save enough energy to power a 60-watt light bulb for 6 hours.
It takes 1/4 of a bottle of oil to manufacture this bottle, and it takes 17 million barrels of oil a year to manufacture all of these bottles. That's enough to keep 1 million cars running for a year. The United States has the safest tap water in the world, but we also have the largest water bottle market, so it's safe to fill up your reusable water bottles and saves lots of energy as well. Why don't you make the switch?
Reusable.
Oh my God! My God, it's reusable!
Whoa! A reusable water bottle!
It's amazing how much a difference you can make by just changing one little habit. And I want to thank the students from Green School Alliance for developing this demonstration. You could do this too, if you want to show other people how many bottles they're actually using. Here's a student from Yamen organization in Minnesota who has come up with creative solutions to water bottle issues and much more. We've got Brent on Skype. Could you tell us what Yamen is and what you've been doing?
Hi, my name is Bryn Shank, and I'm a senior at St. Paul Central High School, and I'm also co-chair of Minnesota, which stands for Youth Environmental Activists of Minnesota. It's the youth program of the Will Steger Foundation, and the Will Steger Foundation looks to educate, inspire, and empower people to create solutions to climate change. A little bit more about Minnesota is we're a core, at our core, we're a network of high school environmental clubs around the Twin Cities. And so what we do is we help each other with our projects to help mitigate and solve climate change at our individual high schools. So at Central, my high school, we're leading a hydration station project to raise money to install a water fountain, which increases reusable water bottle usage. And this is really important because one-time use plastic waste, like water bottles, are more expensive than reusable water bottles, and most of them are thrown away, and it's like completely useless, production with oil, so it's just not even needed. So this is like a big problem, and we know to help like mitigate climate change, waste reduction is a big thing. So Minnesota has been really, really supportive with this project, and our hydration stations are going to be installed really, really soon. We've had to do a lot of contact back and forth with the district, but it's been really awesome. Besides just our own high schools, Minnesota is also really dedicated to connecting with the local environmental movement and the environmental movement nationally. So annually, one thing that we do every year is we go down to the state capitol building and do a lobby day. So last year, we went down to the state capitol building and we lobbied for a new renewable energy standard to have 30% of Minnesota's energy be from renewable sources by 2030, and 10% of that be from solar energy, so that solar could help get into the market and compete. So it's a really, really awesome process because students get to meet with their legislators, they get to learn about government and how government works, but also stand up for like their generation, because climate change is going to be a really big issue for them, because climate change is going to affect our generation a lot. So it's really awesome, and Yaman has been like just so great to be able to work on high school projects and also connect to the wider movement as well. So thanks a lot for having me to the program. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bryn. You all have done some amazing things.
It's amazing how small things can add up to make a huge difference. Isn't that encouraging? I hope that students and adults who hear this will want to go out and undertake some of their own projects as well.
Absolutely. Let's check back with our webcast audience and see what they're saying. Heather, a student from Conserve School in Wisconsin, tweeted that the path to decreasing the rapid rate of greenhouse gas emissions lies through education and acceptance. And acceptance means understanding that the science shows that climate change is real. Thanks, Heather, for your tweet. Here are some more real-life superheroes who decided to focus on energy use. Let's see what they've accomplished.
It all started, we were in 6th grade.
We were concerned about climate change.
Because of sea level change, Miami, out of all the coastal cities in the world, will have the greatest economic loss.
At a certain point, we couldn't stop thinking, is there anything that we can do?
I'm Nicole Martinez.
I'm Melissa Quintana.
I'm Madeline Cowan. I'm Larissa Weinstein.
And we're the Green Team! The Green Team would go around from homeroom to homeroom telling students about one thing that they could do to reduce their carbon footprint.
We started by turning off computers.
We began to recycle. Turned off lights. We actually weather stripped the doors and windows so that the air can't escape to conserve air conditioning.
We turned off the AC units. Instead, we opened the windows and the doors. We could hear birds singing outside.
There are so many little things that you can do that will save energy and money.
Throughout the school year, we had this thing called the Greenometer. It was a thermometer. We would see energy that we were saving.
We became a Dreaming Green School, which is a nonprofit that helps us to save energy, reduce our carbon footprint. We save tens of thousands of dollars.
We learn how our actions affect the environment and affect something greater than ourselves.
My friends and I called in somebody to give us an estimate on putting in solar panels. The man who came in emphasized that before we need to do this, we can try to reduce our energy consumption. And one of the great ideas that he gave us was to paint the roof of our school white. We convinced them to actually donate all the materials, the time, and the manpower to paint the roof of our school white. Painting the roof white saved us thousands of dollars. It didn't require as much air conditioning. That translated directly to money savings. We didn't just do this ourselves. We built an entire network with faculty, administration, students, and other members of the community.
Our principal allowed us to look at energy bills, so we were able to do an energy audit on the entire school.
And you can go online to put in your address and it does energy audits. It gives you graphs on how much you're saving or what you can do. It gives you tips.
Yeah.
And I think it compares that's it to the same month of the previous year.
Just
became an incredible project. It became something beyond my wildest dream.
And all of our teachers were very helpful.
We spoke with the custodians and convinced them to play a part in going green.
Sure, I'll
please.
come back.
Thank you.
If we custodians should see an air condition on, we turn it off. So we are going greener, and I'm proud to say that.
We were able to vastly decrease the amount of energy our school used.
Going green is a win-win situation for everybody. My 8th grade year, we saved $39,000. And then the year after that, we saved another $14,000.
If each school in the district were to implement these, we would have saved $33 million.
That's awesome.
Larissa, Maddie, Melissa, and Nicole wanted to go beyond the classroom with what they had learned about energy and environmental science and make a difference in their school and community.
We made a presentation for school board members about how the entire district could be more environmentally friendly.
They were extremely inspired, and they also saw the financial benefits of going green.
The savings were astronomical. It was exciting to go to these school board members. You could show them the data. You could say, look, you have no idea how much money you could be saving.
Our students went and spoke to the authorities at the Miami International Airport.
Throughout our presentations with the school board chairman, with Miami International Airport, we emphasized that it doesn't take that much to reduce your energy consumption.
We were taken seriously because we had real statistics and information. We could show the people at the airport, this is how much you will save.
It was something that we were really very proud of. Not only are we making a change at the school level, but we're trying to make a change citywide, nationwide, worldwide.
Maddie and I graduated from here at Carver, and we then moved on to Coral Gables High School. Coming off this sort of high of change and excitement and everything we were doing here at Carver, we had a list. We wanted everything we had done at Carver to happen at Gables. Almost the entire school at this point is recycling paper and plastic and cans. Going green really helps save money everywhere. 75% of the money that we save at our school gets returned to us. We've saved $4,000 or $5,000 this year at Gables High alone. Small changes that add up to big savings.
You can save millions of dollars, and this is just one small county in Florida. Can you imagine if every other county did this? Can you imagine if every other state did this?
It's right on so many levels, you know, a moral level and at a financial level.
And despite all these obstacles, it's just if you keep trying, you can't lose. You're saving money, and more importantly, you're saving the planet.
Kids do have power. Kids have a say in what happens. I felt like I could change things. I could just strap on my cape and go.
I'd like to thank the Young Voices for the Planet for sharing that video with us. We have a question from Gerardo Hernandez from Hilton High School. Gerardo.
I'm Gerardo and I go to Hilton High School. Would you talk about energy use and what alternatives there are for the fossil fuels?
The tough thing is that there's no one silver bullet that's going to fix this problem. But there are lots of ways we can get our energy that are renewable. We can look at solar, wind, tidal, geothermal, and all kinds of other ways that really smart people are working on that we can get our energy from that doesn't come from coal or gas or oil. So just imagine for a second a backpack made of some solar fabric that charges your laptop and your phone as you walk around. Imagine houses painted with solar paint, with shingles made out of solar panels. Imagine a little wind turbine on the roof. You could sell your electricity back to the grid. Imagine highways made of solar panels that charge your car as you drive. That'd be a pretty cool future.
You can even incorporate alternative energy into your school. Students at my high school fundraised enough to install 22 solar panels on our roof a few years ago, and the electricity goes directly into powering our school. Now we're using an online petition to try to make it easier for other schools across our county to go solar. Now let's say that you've been trying to reduce your carbon footprint at home and at school. How will you know how much of an impact you've made? Let's have a look.
Online, you can find tools called carbon calculators. They can give you loads of information that show the impact of some simple energy-saving changes you can make. Check out the EcoSchools Carbon Calculator from the National Wildlife Federation. You just pop in a small change you can make, and out comes the carbon emission savings. For example, just changing 5 light bulbs and turning off the lights while you aren't in school results in a savings of almost 2,000 pounds of carbon for the school year. Or check out the Environmental Protection Agency's online carbon calculator. It will show the carbon emissions impacts across the country if every student made the same simple changes you did. Using the carbon calculators, you can see that even small changes can make a big difference.
Many schools have really dived into assessing their energy use, and this can be a really fun, informative, and carbon-saving project. Okay, well, let's get back to our webcast audience and get one last comment from them. And here's another tweet from Manchester Essex Regional School District in Massachusetts. They have installed motion-censored and LED lights to save energy. That's a great energy-saving project. If you didn't get a chance to send in a question, you can still do that by going to the Climate Change Live website, and we've got an Ask a Scientist button where you can submit a question. Please continue to send us your questions. You can also continue to send us tweets or posts on Facebook. We have seen some great examples today of what students have done to address climate change. And now you know that there are lots of actions that students and classes can take to reduce energy consumption and be part of the climate solution. I'd like to thank you all for joining in the climate change conversation during this webcast. I'd like to thank Dr. Hayhoe, our scientist who answered questions, tweets, and Facebook posts from you. Also, I'd like to thank SCI, the Alliance for Climate Education, and our student hosts, Troy and Robert. I also want to thank the Climate Change Live sponsors, the USDA Forest Service, and the 25 other partners who helped with this project. I hope you'll go to the website at climatechangelive.org and take a look at all of the information, resources, and ideas there. You'll also find a list of all of the online resources highlighted in our webcasts. There's more information there about becoming a green school, participating in citizen science activities, how to educate other students or people in your community about climate change, and just lots of ideas, programs, and lesson plans. It's exciting and inspiring to see the many things students are doing, and we celebrate your commitment to address a very important issue of our times. Teachers, your feedback about this program is very important to us, so please go to the website and fill out the evaluation form there. Troy, do you want to tell them about the grant program?
Sure. Climate Change Live is offering grants from $500 to $1,000 through Project Learning Tree and the U.S. Forest Service for projects that you might be thinking about that address climate change. Anything from planting a school garden to adding energy-saving devices to your school or helping you set up a community education campaign. You can check out the website for more action project ideas and grant information.
Yes, we'd love to help you with some financial support for your project and get a grant application from you. Any last thoughts? Let's start with you, Sai.
Thanks, Karen. Look, I know this is a big issue and the biggest challenge of our lifetime, but it's also an incredible opportunity to innovate and reinvent how we live. Here at ACE, we worked with lots of students around the country who are getting involved, and it's inspiring to see what they're doing. I truly believe in the power of youth, and I'm so hopeful about our future because I believe in your generation.
I just want to encourage students to start somewhere. Just like we got started with recycling at my high school, and just that has made a big difference. But I just want to add, it starts within yourself. And then you have to reach out to your school, and then you get your community involved.
How about you, Robert?
You have to start small, but dream big. In the projects that I've worked on, we always start with our school, but then try to go beyond that to really make a difference. Remember that you're not the only one in this fight, and that there are lots of people out there who want to help join with you to stop climate change.
Yes, I agree. Addressing this issue is going to require knowledge, innovation, and a lot of hard work. But by working together, we can do it.
To our hosts, thank you all. And thanks so much for joining us today, and we hope you've been inspired to get engaged in being part of the climate solution. Bye.
I may be young,
but I understand what's at stake. With climate change,
climate disruption, the CO2 we're putting in our atmosphere,
continuing to base our success on fossil fuel.
It's not about some far-out future.
It's about my future.
It's about my potential.
My economic opportunities.
My health.
It's about what's happening right now.
In the dry, cracked farmlands,
In the wildfire-vulnerable mountains.
In the storm-battered coastlines.
It's happening where you live.
It's happening where I live.
But instead of giving up,
I've chosen to focus on what I can do.
on what I can make happen.
On the impact I can have.
By taking action.
In my school, at my home, in my community.
I can't stop climate change on my own.
But it's a start.
It's a step to getting us there.
It's what I can do right now.
I am young.
I do not yet have the power,
The resources,
The access
the connections,
The clout,
the training,
that you do.
Not yet.
So I'm relying on you.
We're counting on you.
to do the right thing.
To do the smart thing.
To do the renewable thing.
not just because it will make economic sense,
Not just because it makes scientific sense. Not just for our planet, but for our future.
for my future.
My future.
my future.
My future.
Everybody hugging trees, we're just so fresh and green.
Fresh and so green, green.
R-E-C-Y-C-L-E, we're just so fresh and green.
Fresh and so green, green.
Everybody hugging trees, we're just so fresh and
So
green.
fresh and so green, green.
We love saving energy, we're just so fresh and
So
green.
fresh and so green, green. This Luke wants that redemption. B, she asked for Roger Mike again. I'll take the mic again. Already I'm recycling the freshest. Have you seen us? All the ladies want my Prius. Saving so much for it seems to me like we're a greenery. Greedy for green leaves like the Grinch who stole your Christmas tree. Listen please, for all the haters trying to trash talk, if you aren't spitting garbage, then go throw it in the right box. Alright boss, and turn the lights off.
Everybody hugging trees, we're just so fresh and
So
green.
fresh and so green, green.
R-E-C-Y-C-L-E, we're just so fresh and
So
green.
fresh and so green, green.
Everybody hugging trees, we're just so fresh and
So
green.
fresh and so green, green.
We love saving energy, we're just so fresh and
So
green.
fresh and so green, green. We gotta respect Mother Nature, cannot jeopardize it. Yeah, we making hits. You boys just making fertilizer. Yeah, we see you popping bottles. Yeah, it's time to intervene. Gotta get that Nalgene bottle, cap it, and go green. Gotta go extra kilometers. Turn off the monitor so the odometer turn down thermometers. You know Miss Luke, she keeps it fresh. Yeah, the queen of compost. We do it again. We take the cup home, now we boasting.
Everybody hugging trees, we're just so fresh and green.
Fresh and so green, green.
R-E-C-Y-C-L-E, we're just so fresh and
So
green.
fresh and so green, green.
Everybody hugging trees, we're just so fresh and
So
green.
fresh and so green, green.
We love saving energy, we're just so fresh and
So
green.
fresh and so green, green.
Going green was the plan, so you understand why we here. On good terms with Captain Planet, my posse's all planeteers. Don't just talk, we walk the walk. Step on the campus and for recycling bins we got. Turning off the power, garden full of flowers. Never find another school where the creek is clean as ours. I even recycle the water that I use when I shower. That was a joke, kids. Always bathe in clean water. Mirrors don't top well, clear out your top shelf. Compost bin for all that leftover chopped wells. When will it stop? Well, when do you think? When the world ends, guess we're pretty close to our big biscuit.
Everybody hugging trees, we're just so fresh and green. R-E-C-Y-C-L-E, we're just so fresh and green. Everybody hugging trees, we're just so fresh and green. We love saving energy, we're just so fresh and green.